If you pay taxes to your school district, willingly or unwillingly, then you have a stake. You own part of that school and you've got a say in what goes on there. And shame on me for not getting involved sooner, but do your own investigation. Don't take anything at face value. Take everything with a grain of salt that the school district tells you. Do your own homework. Common sense and your instincts will take you as far as you need to go.
Welcome to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few, US Pie's weekly podcast that empowers parents to reclaim their children's education from government bureaucrats and social engineers, equipping you with the tools and resources needed to join the cause.
Hi everyone, welcome to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host, Sherry Few, and today I'm joined by Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert, two Missouri citizens who were banned from their local school district after raising concerns about sexually explicit books. Before we dive in, please take a moment to give us a 5-star rating or a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And visit uspie.org to learn more and join the movement.
Today's episode is brought to you by U.S. parents involved in education. US Pie's mission is to empower parents and local communities to break free from federal and national influences, thereby reclaiming parental authority over their children's education. For more insights from U.S. parents involved in education, connect with us at US Pie on X and Facebook. To join the movement, visit uspie.org.
Welcome back to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host, Sherry Few, and joining me today are Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert, two Missouri citizens who were banned from their local school district after raising concerns about sexually explicit books, transparency failures, and alleged misconduct by school officials. Their story raises serious concerns about parental rights, First Amendment protections, and whether school districts believe they are above the Constitution. Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, good to be here.
So Dan, let's start with you.
Okay.
You're a retired Missouri state trooper. Your children are grown, and you don't even have kids currently enrolled in the district when all of this began. So walk us through how you first discovered sexually explicit materials in the high school library and what prompted you to take action.
I retired in January of 23 after 27 years on the highway patrol and naturally had aspirations of spending more time with the grandkids, going fishing, doing, just the chores around the house, getting caught up on a bunch of things I had put off for years. I was on my computer one day and by chance happened to see a dirty book list that was floating around the internet. And it was a list of about 50 books from a Kansas City area school district. Parents there raised concerns and challenged these books. And anyway, it was appalling, some of the things that those parents were finding in their school library books. So it made me question about the books in my library. And so I contacted central office, spoke with the staff there, and they told me to call the librarian, that she's in charge of the books and the library. So I did. The librarian and I spoke the first time I'd ever spoken to her. I didn't even know who she was at the time. Didn't know her by name. And I was very disengaged from the school district at that time. And so anyway, I told her what I found and asked about the books that she had in her library, and she assured me that she didn't have any of those kind of books in her library, that she wouldn't, not her exact words, but something to the effect that I know what the kids can handle, and I wouldn't put anything in the library that I didn't think the kids could handle. And that was a kind of an odd answer. It made me more suspicious than anything else. And so I decided after our phone conversation to do my own homework. And that's when I found a website, Go Follett. I don't know if you're familiar with that. If your audience knows about that, it's GOFOLLETT .com or .org. Is it .com? Anyway, that website, I came across it, and through that website, you can access your schools, or most any schools, card catalog online. And so from my home computer, I started looking for some of the titles in my high school library that were listed on that 50 page or that 50 book list that I had found on the internet. And next thing you know, after the librarian told me she didn't have those kind of books, I started finding them myself online through that library program. So anyway, that set the whole thing in motion. That kind of drew me into this fight with the school district. It's been over 3 years now, and well, close to 3 years. And we're making progress, but it's a slow uphill battle. Let me tell you, the resistance is stiff.
I believe it. I've had quite a bit of experience with those type things myself, as you can imagine. Actually, that's what started me on the path to forming this nonprofit to address what I think is a violation of parental rights and just so much bad material. It's not just the pornography, as I like to call it, but it's there's anti-American history, and it's vast.
Right.
So I started when my kids were in school, and so I was a parent. I guess at the time you weren't, but even as a parent, I wasn't allowed to access materials. So I absolutely understand, and my perception at that time was that they want parents involved as far as helping to raise money for the PTA, making
Yeah.
sure your kids get their homework done. But beyond that, check your credentials at the door.
Right.
When Dan brought this information to you, you had already been raising concerns with the district. So, what was your reaction and why did you decide to work together?
First, I was in disbelief. We live in a very rural part of the state, and if we were to describe it, I believe that we would find that about 75% of the people in our community will vote on the red side of the column. A small minority of it votes on the blue side. I truly believe that those books, I think it was like 28 books that we found at the time, that's all that there was. And as soon as we brought it to the attention of the community, that it would simply be taken care of. That type of content does not belong in the hands of a kid. But that didn't end up being the case. I had a kid at the time in that high school where Dan found those books, and that was what caused me to want to get into it, particularly after we brought it to the attention of the community. We were chastised for having a problem with the content that was in these books. We were the bad people, not those that wanted kids to read that type of content. And Dan and I hit the ground running, and we've been at it for 3 years now.
So, you said they claimed you were the bad guys and attacked you. What kinds of things did they say to make you appear to be the bad guys?
That I'm homophobic, that I'm racist, that I'm a transphobe, that I'm just hateful, that I'm a bully.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
That's the typical left reaction, isn't it? Name calling and slander and tilt the blame toward you. So, what was the reaction of your community when they attacked you like this? Were they supportive?
Yes, Dan and I are the black sheep in the community. We are the evil, mean bullies
Yeah.
because we're, we're meanie heads.
Okay, so Dan, once you brought these concerns to the librarian, superintendent, and school board, how did the district respond and how quickly did the tone shift?
Well, the tone shifted immediately. We we contacted, well, when I first found the books, after I contacted the librarian and I met with Heath and some other concerned parents, um, we all decided to take our concerns to the school board at a public meeting. And and that's the proper forum. I mean, that's what they're for. So, well, it's what we thought. And so we did. And some of the parents read excerpts from some of the books. And the school board members at the time seemed very shocked. They seemed concerned. They seemed to totally disbelieve that they could just that we found those books in their library. So initially, I assumed wrongly, but I assumed that they were just as concerned as I was that they were going to take care of it. We trusted them because they were our elected officials, and we thought that they had the school districts and the students' best interest at heart. It seems like that the more I deal with them, the more I realize that they're more interested in covering themselves and covering for the district than they are about protecting the children. So anyway, yeah, they immediately after that initial school board meeting back in March of 23, we had a large public turnout, a lot of speakers. We really took the school board by surprise. I don't think that they expected quite a turnout, and I think it shell shocked them in the fact that they immediately went to cover up mode. They went on the defensive. The next board meeting, I think the next month, they came out. They stiffened the policies, restricting. Putting more restrictions on us to make it more difficult for parents to speak at school board meetings. They put a moratorium on the book issue. In other words, instead of being able to talk about it month after month, they restricted us. Now we can only talk about books or any subject for that matter once every quarter. So even though it may be a concern to the public, they will only allow that discussion publicly once a quarter on any particular topic. So they clamped down on free speech is what they did because they didn't want to hear it. We put our trust and faith in the board, and they completely let everyone down.
Wow. It's not surprising. I've heard a lot of these stories, but that is unique for me to hear about the moratorium tactic. It's interesting what they come up with to try to, like you said, uh, attack your free speech, to censor you. So, I again, though, not surprised. So, Heath, back to you. Instead of addressing the content issues, the board changed policies, which is what Dan was just explaining, and that restricted the participation of the parents. So, how did the community react to that? Because you said you had a great turnout, and then all of a sudden they're trying to silence you. What was the community's response?
Fortunately, the community largely supports the school district. The we refer to the school district as the Church of the Dragon. It is almost an idol to the people in this community. They love their sports teams and they blindly stand behind the school. And it was fun, the need for these changes, because we're being bullies to the board. We're being bullies to the district. We are being bullies to the staff who give these books to children. So it just, right out of the gate, we lost a lot of support from the community. And we had 300 people that showed up at that meeting in March, and it trickled down to there's just a few people that go to the meetings anymore. And very few people want to tackle this with us or on our own.
That's very surprising with all the support you had originally and, um, the percentage of conservatives or Republicans in your community. But then again, I live in what's supposed to be a very red state, a very conservative community. And unfortunately, I've experienced the same thing. And I've also been villainized. And I've been at this for more than 20 years. And my kids are, up nearly in their 40s now. But they were in school when I started this battle, and I had a very similar reaction. And now I'm working on the national level, but still seem to be the villain in my own hometown. But I like to tell people I'm in good company because even Jesus was not regarded highly in his own hometown. So maybe you can take that to heart. So we need to take a short break, but when we come back, I'd like to ask you about other parents and how they began to reach out to you with their own stories and what your deep dive into this revealed. Don't go away. I'll be back with my interview with Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert right after this. A Reuters investigation found that diagnosis of gender dysphoria in children tripled between 2017 and 2021. Many experts believe this represents a form of mass psychosis, driven in large part by government schools and the medical community. Schools administer social emotional learning surveys asking children about their gender identity and feelings, then encourage hiding these feelings from their parents. Some children are persuaded to live a dual life with conflicting gender identities. Doctors and hospitals often pressure parents to affirm transgender identities and use pronouns and names inconsistent with biology. U.S. Parents Involved in Education pledges to keep raising awareness and fighting until this trend stops and children receive proper care and parental rights are respected. For more information and to join our movement, visit uspie.org and connect with us at USPie on Facebook and X. Welcome back to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host, Sherry Few, and I'm joined by Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert, two Missouri citizens banned from their local school district for raising concerns about sexually explicit books. So, Dan, after the board's response, parents began coming to you with additional information. What did your independent investigations uncover?
Well, a lot. Parents are afraid. Teachers in the district are afraid of retaliation by school officials. If they speak out of turn, step out of line, go against the administration. So people have come to us privately, asking us to keep their identity confidential. They agree with exactly what we're trying to do. However, they don't want to directly get involved. So, which is fine. I mean, we'll take whatever information we can get. We'll take whatever assistance we can get. And our biggest trouble is I don't have children in the school district, so having eyes and ears on the inside is important. And so when we do actually get, you might call them whistleblowers, it's some of the things they say are shocking. Some of the things that we've heard about, sexual assaults in school, involving student on student, teacher teacher misconduct, cursing and physically abusing children, and bullying. Gosh, I mean, what else? Drugs in school, fentanyl being dealt in our school district. I mean, just it is incredible some of the things, and these are examples. I mean, real life examples of some of the things we've heard. Now we investigate and we take it to our school has its own police department, and this is strike one for anyone out there listening whose school has its own police department. You've got to watch these folks like hawks, because in my opinion, the only reason a school would have its own police department is to cover up its own misconduct. So,
Dan, if I may,
yes,
Sherry, the superintendent of the school district is the chief of his own police department.
Unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable. I thought I'd heard everything. I have never heard of a school district having its own police department. And then the
There-
superintendent, chief of
yeah.
police.
And
That
now
is
in Missouri, statute allows school districts to form their own police departments. Most, however, don't. They use school resource officers, police officers
right.
loaned out from the local jurisdiction. They don't usually have their own. And I don't think it's a good idea to have your own, because A, there's no one really qualified to run a police department in a school district. The superintendent is a very highly educated person, but he doesn't have any law enforcement experience or a background. His background's in education and administration, which is fine. Anyway, it creates a lot of problems, and that's part of why we are the brick wall that we've run up against. When we hear of a violation, let's say the fentanyl, let's say the drugs in school, we took it to our school police department. Now granted, we're asking the fox to report on the hens, right? It's we're going to a police officer that the school, he's on the school payroll, and asking him to look into the drug problem. And the problem with that is they don't really want to find, to acknowledge that there's a drug problem. It looks bad on the school district. There's a lot of whatever trouble they may get into at the state level or the federal level. I don't know. They may lose grant money. There's so many things that could go wrong for a school district that admits to having a drug problem or a bullying problem or a sexual problem in school. So a lot of these things are being swept under the rug and covered up, and the police department is really complicit in all in this big cover up. So uh, parents come to us with things, and we investigate. We take it to the school board, to the meetings. Again, that moratorium kicks in, so now we can only talk about these issues once every quarter. And now the school board has even gone so far as to require us, if we want to address the board, we have to submit in writing the topic that we want to discuss, because if they don't approve of that, they will not let us speak on it. So now we have to seek their approval to talk about certain things. The First Amendment is almost non-existent in our school district.
Well, that's really absurd. But I know it
Correct.
happens. Maybe not to that extent. I haven't heard. Um, so aren't they crossing some legal boundaries here?
Well, yeah, I mean, we we write complaints, we file complaints with the district. Again, we're complaining to the district about the district, so we
Right,
know those
right,
aren't going to go anywhere.
right.
But it's for, for our records, for the record, because they become public records. We document about everything we do,
Right.
and we taken our complaints to the state level. And the trouble is, they're George Carlin had a famous quote. It's a big club and you ain't in it, and that applies to the school district. There is a brotherhood there that is as bad as any other. I mean, that they seem like they just cover for each other. They excuse each other. It's just, we haven't gotten any traction on the state level. We've been to the Attorney General's office, sunshine law request in particular. We've got dozens and dozens of documented cases that we can't seem to get our Attorney General to take any interest in. The State Board of Education, whatever complaint we have with our school board, they tell us to contact the school board and work it out with them. It's a circular firing squad, and so yeah, there are a lot of violations, state law, civil right violations, but they're apparently, the school attorneys are okay with all this. They're advising them it must be okay because they continue their behavior.
And so there's probably not much hope in changing the board since the community is being so silent on this. Is that right?
Not necessarily. We realize that's the only way we're going to ever affect any change in the district. We can't force it
Mhm.
from the outside. We can't get these people on the board or in the administration to suddenly start complying with the law and complying with civil rights and start doing what's morally right. If they were willing to do that, they would have done it already. So the only way to force change is to do it from within. So we're running, I'm running for school board again, my third time in a
Great.
row.
Okay.
And I'm inching closer. I keep getting more votes every time I run. So hopefully this time will be different. It'll put me over the edge. And if and when I can get on the board, or we can get a constitutional person on the board, then we can at least tap the brakes on some of their activities. We can bring attention from the inside about what's going on. I think at least we can peel back the curtain just a little bit on the district. There's a huge transparency problem currently.
Oh, I agree. All right. So, Heath, in the fall of 2024, you attended a parent teacher conference wearing a body camera and were later banned from the school property, including the school board meetings. So, what reason did the district give you for that ban?
It was a threat, and I was in violation of the district policy that prohibits the exercising of the First Amendment, because they don't allow recording unless it's a public event. And the building was open to the public. The front doors were unlocked. There was nobody there to check IDs. There was nobody there to ask what was going on. They had the health department there administering
Flu
vaccines.
shots or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. So I took that to mean that the event was open to the public. So I wore my body camera to record my parent teacher conferences. And I I am also a Second Amendment advocate. and I left my firearm at home, but I had an empty holster. Uh, I'm a left-handed shooter, and my belt keeps my I have loops in my holster. I can't unclip it, and I didn't want to walk around showing this old fat man's rear end, so I left my belt on. I didn't take the holster off. And the staff at the district wrote 23 pages of complaints and said that they were afraid because I had an empty holster. And that made me a threat. And because I was a threat to the safety of the district, school property, students, and staff, I was banned from the district. They banned me from attending graduation and all of the other events for my child. My child was a senior that year, and I had to get an attorney and spend a large sum of money to be able to just go to graduation.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I know it is expensive to hire an attorney, and at least you were able to go to the graduation. I've hired lawyers in the past on FOIA request, denial of FOIA request, and I was not successful in that case. And it's so frustrating when you spend your own money um, to try to justify, your position, and require the district, to follow the law and the Constitution, and then to get shot down by the courts. And my attorney told me that it's very common for the courts to side with the government. If it's a government agency, the likelihood of you winning a case against them is very, very slim. So we're up against a lot as parents, as individuals, as citizens that are looking for justice. But I just applaud your continuation of not giving up and keep pressing forward and keep running for school board and all of those things. So, Dan, let's talk about what happened a year later. In August of 2025, you attended an open house wearing a body camera, and you were also banned. So,
Correct.
walk us through what happened there.
Well, and here's the thing about body cameras. It creates an objective record. We do it for our own protection because we have experienced the school district telling lies about us,
Mm-hmm.
and accusing us of things that we didn't do, or twisting things that we may have said out of context. And so by video and or audio recording our interactions with school officials, it protects us. And so, because it's not illegal, Missouri is a one party consent state. It's perfectly legal according to our Constitution. The only problem is it flies in the face of the school policy. The superintendent wants to be the sole authority on who gets to video and who doesn't, and when and where. So, um, their policy says we have to get their permission first. Well, that's garbage. So, anyway, I went to an open house event last August. Now, remember, my kids aren't in school. They used to be. Don't have any children there or grandchildren there now. However, I'm a taxpayer. I live in the district. I
Right.
pay taxes there, and so I wanted to go see how my tax dollars were being spent. And since this whole thing started with the books, I figured, okay, I'll go to an open house, and I'll go check out the library. So that's what I did. Like Heath, they had no one at the door. I went to the main entrance, and I just followed other people in line. They weren't checking IDs. They weren't asking. They didn't have a policeman there to pat people down, which is fine. And I wasn't open carrying. I didn't carry a weapon into school. Anyway, so I went directly into the building, straight up the stairs, straight to the library because I knew where it was, and walked into the library. I was the only person in there, and no parents, no children, no nothing. So I just started walking around looking at books and just seeing what the library had to offer the children. And next thing you know, the librarian sees me and makes a beeline to my location, and confronts me, Mr. Landi, what are you doing here? Blah blah blah. And so I told her I was there to look at books. It's an open house, and she goes, no, you can't. You're not supposed to be here. And so she calls the assistant principal. He comes in and says the same thing, basically, no, you're not supposed to be here. And we had a slight disagreement about the meaning of the word open house, but, of the term open house. But anyway, since I didn't have kids enrolled in school, they told me to leave. And if I didn't leave, they would call the police, the school police department. So, under that kind of a threat, I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to get arrested. Didn't want to get cited for trespassing. So I left. Um, And next thing you know, I received a letter from the district. I was being banned for uh, attending an open house event without children in the district and for video recording the incident.
Uh, Dan, let me
Yeah, yeah.
interject. They didn't even say that he was banned for recording. He was banned for wearing a body-worn camera. They don't know that he recorded. They believe that they recorded, but the letter said for wearing a body-worn camera. Wearing a body-worn camera is not a violation of policy. They just made the assumption that he was. They can't prove that he did, but they banned him anyway. And when they banned us, it's not just from going to school property. If the school is going to an away game in the next town over, we are banned from going to that school because the school's team is going to be there. We had a homecoming parade in town on the city streets. We were banned from attending the homecoming parade on the city streets in our local town. So it's not just the school property that they have banned us from. It is anywhere that those kids can be found in a school activity.
But now let's give the district a little credit. I mean, because they're so benevolent, they initially they banned me from school proper, right, from the school buildings and from sporting events, as Heath just said, and from homecoming events. They allowed me through their kindness to attend school board meetings in person. So that was the only exception to my ban. At the time, I was allowed to attend school board meetings in person until the next school board meeting when they claimed I was disruptive because I started to drift off topic. Remember, I had told you that they restrict our topic and they hold you to it. I mean, I forget. I think I was gonna. Oh, I was there to speak about curriculum. And go ahead.
And they said books is not part of the curriculum.
Yeah, and so I started to talk about some of the dirty books in their library and was going to ask the question: how do those books relate, or support the curriculum? And they knew where I was going. And before I even said the word books, the president cut me off in mid sentence, and then told me to sit down and be quiet. If I didn't get back on topic. And then when I refused, I just kept on going. She called the policeman over, and he got in my face and told me if I didn't sit down and shut up, he was going to take me outside and arrest me. So again, under threat of arrest this time, I sat down and and then received another letter shortly thereafter, the next day or two, whatever, saying that I was now banned from school board meetings as well till the end of the school year. So they don't want to have to deal with us for the rest of the year. However, again, because they're so generous, they're so kind, they do value our opinions apparently because they let us phone in to a school board meeting now. We can attend via telephone. So we still have to sign up and complete their little form and all this other garbage. But now at least they, they said that we can talk. If they approve of our topic, they will call us. So we were supposed to stand by our phone, and during the meeting, when it's time for public discussion, they call us, and then we have our 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is to speak our piece. Which and they may think, okay, well, that's good enough. He wanted to speak, we let him speak. But it's again, it has a chilling effect. This kind of behavior has a chilling effect on everyone else. And it also discourages us from being able to talk to our representatives in person because we take breaks. If we catch them in the hall before or catch them in the hall after the meetings, I mean, it's part of that. They don't want any confrontation. They don't want to be confronted. They don't want to be asked any direct questions. And one of the biggest things they try to keep us out of the meetings because Heath video records every meeting, and because they can't delete or alter or edit or control his video, see, and Heath posts it online, and so without his camera being in the boardroom during a meeting, they own the truth, and
They
so
control it.
yeah, and they have edited their meetings before, so it's again, the First Amendment is so abused in our school district right now. It's why it's imperative for me or someone constitutionally minded to get on that board and try to put the brakes on this.
Well, I agree. I agree, and I appreciate you again your persistence in that and not giving up. So let's get back to the one party consent law. We have a similar law in the state where I live in South Carolina, and we've had issues not in the school realm, but in the political realm with our local Republican Party. They want to make their meetings where you can't record. And so we've told them, we can because of the one party consent law. And then they claim they're a private organization, so they can make their own rules. But in your case, obviously they are not a private organization. They are a government entity. So I'm just wondering, how do you resolve the conflict between the violation of the state law and the policy of the school board?
But
Wow.
yeah,
We have the same question. We don't know. We've been fighting this since the beginning. The school district is adamant that I'm not allowed to record. And the reason that they don't want me to record is because I keep catching them in compromising positions, saying and doing things that could hold them to account. They despise the transparency and the accountability that my camera brings. That's why they fight so hard. We have tried to contact the attorney general. Yeah, we're small fish. He's got, or she now has many larger fish to fry. So we are left absolutely in limbo. When we contact the state, like our Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE says, well, you need to go to your school board. Well, the school board doesn't want me to record because it is them that I'm approaching them before and after the meeting, and I'm asking them questions. I'm recording those conversations, and I'm making it available to the public to inform the public. I'm acting as a citizen journalist. They hate it. So they absolutely will not allow me in there. That's part of the reason that I believe that I'm banned, because I set up as soon as I walk in the door, my camera is recording, and it doesn't stop recording until I leave. And I keep catching them saying and doing things that are inappropriate. We have staff that acts, well, one guy was cursing me one day. He's a school district employee, was doing it in front of their superiors, and they didn't do anything with them. We've had members of the community that have communicated threats, and the school police department doesn't do anything about it. And when Dan says we are recording for our own protection, we are literally recording for our own protection. It's going to take somebody with a whole lot of money to file lawsuits to make this madness stop. And the unfortunate reality is the school district has our money to pay their attorneys, and the attorneys work for those administrators and the school board. They don't work for the people that are paying, being the community. So whatever the school board and the superintendent want to do, the attorneys use our money against us to find ways to justify what it is that the school wants to do.
Have you guys thought about recruiting other people to run for school board so you would have more than just one person? I mean, if you were to win, that would be great, but it'd be hard to get much done if you're the only one on the board. In some other communities, they'll run an entire slate and just kind of run together on, what your platform is, the lack of transparency, and all the problems you're witnessing. It could be helpful to have others, to have allies in that campaign.
go ahead.
We've looked and we've tried, but the problem is that the school board and the school district have made an example out of Heath and Dan. The all of these people have seen how people treat us in public, how they talk about us. We have a community forum on Facebook for the community, and to say that we are pilloried is probably an understatement. People are afraid. They don't want to be treated the way that Dan and I have been treated. A lot of these people have long-standing ties to the community. A lot of them have a spouse or a family member who owns a local business, and it could literally impact their livelihood.
Yeah.
People are afraid, and we can't get good people to stand up.
It's such a shame. It's
It
such a
is.
shame. We've got to overcome this spirit of fear and take on the courage that both of you have. It's but you're in the fight and you're sticking with it, and that's great. So you talked about your forum on Facebook. Do you have a website too? Is there information you want to share with the
Cameron
public
School
so they can
District,
learn about what you're doing?
forgive me, I didn't mean to interrupt. Cameron
No,
School District Exposed.com.
say it one more
And
time.
Cameron School,
Cameron. That spell Cameron.
Cameron.
Okay.
So just Cameron School District Exposed.com.
Okay.
And all of the things that are going on, I have taken to, I'm kind of back in Dan with my writing, and I'm writing about issues in the district and pointing out the problems and trying to get people to see that maybe there is truly something behind what Heath and Dan are saying. So I'm acting as a citizen journalist, and I'm covering the issues in the district. And we are slowly, Dan has run 3 times now. He's getting more votes each time. We are methodically continuing to point out the discrepancies within the district. And I think that people are slowly beginning to see that maybe there is something to what Heath and
Yeah.
Dan are saying. We're, it's slow, but we are seeing change.
Well, that's good. That's positive, and it's good to end on a good note. But let's do that in a moment. I'm going to have you tell us what gives you hope. But we need to take another short break, and when we come back, I'll ask you the 2 questions I ask all my guests before closing the show. So don't go away. I'll be back with my interview with Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert right after this. For years, behaviors like fidgeting, inattentiveness, and forgetfulness have been labeled as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. To manage this, medications like Adderall, which are stimulants with potentially addictive qualities, more than triples the risk of developing psychosis or mania. A high dose increases that risk 5-fold. Moreover, chronic use of these drugs may stunt physical growth in children. Beyond health risk, long-term studies show that these medications do not improve academic performance, relationships, or behavior in any lasting way. U.S. Parents Involved in Education hopes that President Trump's Make America Healthy Again Commission will address these serious concerns and promote safer, more effective strategies to help children. For more information and to join our movement, visit uspie.org and connect with us at USPie on Facebook and X. Welcome back to Unmasking Government Schools with Sherry Few. I'm your host, Sherry Few, and with me today are Dan Landi and Heath Gilbert, who were banned from their Missouri school district for raising concerns about sexually explicit books. We close our show with 2 important questions. So Dan and Heath, I'll give you both a shot at these 2 questions. First, what concerns you most about what's happening in education today, and what gives you hope?
Okay, well, indoctrination to me, I think, is probably the most concerning issue. And and that's again, it brings us right back to the book thing because a lot of these books aren't, in my opinion, indoctrinate, and I think that's their intent is to indoctrinate children. And what gives me hope is, as Heath just said, it people are waking up, and I I think that through your organization, through other national organizations, that the word is getting out that it's not just fringe parents, right? People on the edge or people, that lean to the right, that are bringing up these concerns, and I think there's hope for the future in the fact that there I think there hopefully there will be a more of a disconnect from the federal standpoint that that the states will be more autonomous to run their school districts the way that they deem necessary. So with less or federal control, I think we're making progress in that regard too.
All right. The public education system is morally bankrupt. And the product of these public education system is absolutely subpar. Our children are not being educated. I read a survey study recently that the average grade level proficiency of the adults in the United States now is somewhere between their reading ability is like a sixth, seventh, or eighth grade level. Our children are graduating. We're spending billions and billions of dollars, and our kids are not being educated. It is a monolith that we're up against. It is absolutely corrupted, and these institutions are so big and there's so much money involved that they no longer answer to the public. We are not in charge. The public is not in charge of our local school district. There are appointed people who make the decisions. They don't answer to the public. They don't answer to the mom and dads anymore. And they silence anybody that does speak out against them. Uh, uh, like Dan, the thing that I am excited to see is there are so many people that are beginning to get a peek behind the veil. They're seeing the monster that we have. They're seeing that God is completely absent from the public school system. God is absent from the meetings where these decisions are made, the decisions that these books are okay. Nobody is discussing the biblical implication of the content that we're handing to these kids, the sexualization, the normalization of the sexualization of these kids. But people are waking up. People are seeing that we have a problem and they're starting to speak out. And the more programs like what we're doing here today that are out there, people are going to be informed, and hopefully they're going to have the courage to step up. We're seeing more and more of it. It's moving slowly, but we are seeing progress.
Yes, I agree. And as you both may know, I'm sure you looked into United States parents involved in education before agreeing to come on, but it is our mission to end the federal Department of Education and all federal education mandates. That's been our mission for more than 10 years. And we are excited, as you mentioned, Heath, about the changes we're seeing on the federal level coming out of the Trump administration. So there is hope there, I believe. And the other thing I want to mention to you, too, and we can talk more after the interview, there are national nonprofit organizations that are pro bono law firms that are handling cases like yours. And I think you have a very strong case. So we'll talk in a little bit, and I'll try to get you connected with some of those. Some we actually interview here on a regular basis. So maybe we can find an inroad for you there. But in the meantime, you guys keep up the good work. Thank you both for your courage and for inspiring others to, to not remain silent in the face of wrongdoing and government overreach. I'm sure many listeners will be encouraged by your testimony. So thank you so much for what you're doing and for coming on today to share what you're doing.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Absolutely.
All right, bless your heart. It is imperative for people to get involved, parents, or even just concerned citizens. If you pay taxes to your school district, willingly or unwillingly, then you have a stake. You own part of that school, and you've got a say in what goes on there. And shame on me for not getting involved sooner. But parents can investigate when it comes to the books anyway, and do your own investigation. Don't take anything at face value. Don't take everything with a grain of salt that the school district tells you. Do your own homework. And that website that I found that you can check the school card catalogs, the library's card catalogs is. Let me repeat that for the audience. GoFollett.com, and it's all one word. GoFollett.com. Go Follett. And I don't know how it works exactly, but I think about all school districts use that program. And anyway, you can type it, you can search from your home computer, you can search your school or any school for that matter. If you have the school district name and the school district or the school name itself, and you can search their library, electronic library, the card catalog, it's online. So I would encourage parents to do that. And because, see, our school district won't let us in the library to physically inspect the books. they refuse, which is why they got so worked up when they saw me in there with a camera. But because they're afraid that we're going to find something that they either don't know about or they said that they got rid of or whatever, that we're going to find some evidence. And so we've done our research and our investigation online, and you'd be surprised what you can even find just online. So anyway, that's my final thought to the public. Please do your own homework and and don't take anything at face value. Always investigate, ask your own questions. Common sense and your instincts will take you as far as you need to go.
Amen. That's great advice. So, through your website that you gave earlier, are people able to reach you through the website?
Yes.
There's contact form. The reason I ask is it might help for parents that want to use that resource you just mentioned with the catalog. It might help if they knew what to look for. So if you have, like a list of books that are pornographic or whatever you want
Oh,
to call it, so
yes,
they
ma'am.
could
We
reach out
have
to you at your website and you could point them in that direction. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. And we have what we call the dirty book list. The dirty
There
book
you
list
go.
are, as it sounds, exactly that.
Okay. Great. Well, that's perfect. All right. Well, thank you again, guys. Let's stay in touch. In fact, I would love it maybe if you come back in 6 months or so and give us an update and tell us how things are going. And yeah, we'll do all we can to support you and get the word out. We'll send you the link to this
Outstanding.
podcast and you can use it as well.
Outstanding.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
God bless you.
Okay, you're welcome. And to our listeners, if you found today's discussion eye-opening, please share this episode with a friend, give us a 5-star rating, and subscribe to stay informed. You can connect with us on Facebook and X at USPI and visit uspie.org to join the movement. Until next time, I'm Sherry Few. Thank you for your support of USPI and our efforts to unmask government schools.
U.S. Parents Involved in Education is a nonprofit coalition dedicated to restoring local control of education and parental authority. By empowering parents to reclaim responsibility for their children's learning and encouraging states to move away from federal influence, USPI seeks to create a culture where parents are the primary decision makers in education and schools support families without the burden of federal mandates. If you want to start a state or regional USPI chapter in your area, please visit uspie.org and complete the brief questionnaire in the chapters section.